I started investing just $200 a month while working full-time. And now I've built a $100,000 portfolio. Let me show you how I did it. A few years ago, I was working in London, a typical 9 to 5 full-time job, making decent money to pass the month. Enough to pay my bills and have some fun whenever I can. The problem for me came when I realized that I didn't want to do this for the rest of my life. And most importantly, I didn't want to rely on my monthly salary for the rest of my life. I had no money saved at all. So I started looking online and reading helpful books that helped me stay disciplined. All these took me to the journey where I am now, managing a decent portfolio, not worrying too much about what happens tomorrow while I still have my job. In fact, now I can enjoy my job more. In the following videos, we will review the books and resources that helped me. For me, investing is still a journey, as I am planning to take my portfolio to a level where I can retire with this, and I will be sharing this journey through the Wealth Whisperer Show, where we will break down all the steps I'm taking, what stocks I'm buying, how I read the markets, how to analyze stocks, and much more. So if you want to go down this journey or pick up ideas and opinions, follow along. Step 1. Read and learn. This step never stops, but it is the start. You don't have to be a financial analyst to invest smart and wise. Use the resources you can get for free. Avoid complicated stuff, stay out of get-rich-quick schemes, and you will be off to a great start. Step 2. Personal finance. I couldn't start investing without knowing how my finances are. I put together my recurring income and monthly expenses to see my financial status. Next, I cut down on any expense I could to save money. By the way, I never stopped my occasional Starbucks coffee, but when I went through my bank statements, I discovered some subscriptions I wasn't using too much, so I started by stopping these. After that, I had a good idea of where my money went every month. As I want to enjoy every step of my life and don't want to live like a broke student eating $1 noodles daily, I could only cut so much from my expenses. So naturally, the next step was to look at how to increase my income. Step 3, increase my income. There are many ways to do this. Some people take a second job, some others do a side hustle on their free time. This could have a lot of potential, but I don't know how much effort is required until you get the first money from this. Other people do Uber delivery in their free time. For me, it was easier to start by getting a higher salary. First, by upskilling at work. Learning new skills in your area of focus can set you apart from the competition, make you an asset for your employer, and consequently make you more valuable too. So through this path, you can negotiate a higher salary. Learning and adopting will lead you to a higher salary, either in the same company or a new one. Learning is another attribute that never stops. You have to keep evolving. You have to keep making yourself skillful and valuable and keep up with the trends of the market. This way, you can always keep targeting for this pay rise or the new job with a good bump on your salary. So, going back to the initial steps, having my finances in order and a more considerable income means I have excess money. This is money left after I have paid for my expenses. Step 4. Savings strategy. With some solid knowledge about finance and investing, my finances in order, and a higher salary, you may think we are ready to start investing, but that's not true. You see, even though I knew where my money went every month, I still had this concern about the unknown. What happens if I lose my job tomorrow? I could always find something else, but how long this will take me? So, the next step I did was to create a small fund that could be used to support my lifestyle for a period of time in case I lost my primary income. While raising this, I would cut back on some spending to speed it up. So only during this period would I think twice before buying this Starbucks coffee. I call it the no-touch fund, where, at first, I saved enough to support myself for 6 months in case I lost my job. It's no touch because I would only touch it if I had no other income. This is my safety, and I still add to it every month. For example, now, the no-touch fund can support me for a year, doing exactly the same life I am now doing at my job. This is very important because being without a job can be stressful, and I want to make sure I don't change my life balance if that happens. We are still not ready to invest. The no-touch fund is great, but what happens if I need to pay for my dog's surgery or I have to go to my best friend's bachelor party in Ibiza? So, under my savings umbrella, I dedicated a part of my salary to savings for these purposes. These costs are expected to happen, so I know I will be using this money. For this reason, I made sure I saved enough for these tasks, assigning an amount there every month. Now I have money to support me for a year with no job, and money to cover expenses such as a trip or a pet surgery without affecting my financial status at all. This plan puts my mind at ease, and I can use my mental capacity to learn how to grow my money and actually put it to work for me and grow it. My task is to create wealth. So now I am ready to start my wealth creation path. Step 6, investing. So if you're wondering how I can start investing, this is how. Completing the previous steps allows me to have excess money to put to work. I don't need to have thousands or hundreds of thousands to invest. How do I get the money to invest? It is very simple. Every month, when I get my paycheck, I do the following. Set an amount for my no-touch fund. This is a small amount now since I keep it well above my target. Similarly, for my rainy days savings account, I set a small amount for this. Then, I allocate a chunk of this paycheck for investment. Of course, today, this amount is much larger than it was when I started. But back then, I started by putting around $200 on the side for investment. I would send this to my brokerage account and allocate it towards my investments. When I started, my main task was to keep it simple and not lose money. So when at the start, I allocated money to the following: 50% in the VUSA ETF that tracks the S&P 500. This provides stability and diversification as I have exposure to the biggest 500 companies in the US stock market and provide consistent returns between 7 and 10% annually on average, allowing me to set the foundations for compounding return on my investment. Another 30% is in individual stocks, mostly tech companies that align with my background in the industry. This was a bit risky because investing in individual companies doesn't guarantee you will make money. However, I wanted to put my knowledge into action, so I wanted to own big companies that produce value and have strong financials. I do this every month, and this approach allows me to buy these strong companies in periods of uncertainty when everything is down, and I can buy these strong companies essentially at a discount. I am talking about companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, etc. Also, I always keep around 10% of my allocation in cash in the brokerage account because opportunities may arise, and I want to have at least some liquidity to take advantage of those. One recent example is Allocating. I took a risk by investing $900 early in 2024 in March at $73 and sold it almost at its peak, $334, turning over $4,000. I like taking risks when the upside is much higher than the potential downside because I risked less than 1% of my total portfolio and made $3,000 in profit. So, I want to have some cash in the brokerage to do these. We can do a separate video about Allocating and other risks I might be taking. Let me know in the comments. Finally, I allocate most of the remaining money into cryptos, specifically Bitcoin and Ether. Now, I have to say that I am not an advocate of cryptos, but it has become a trend that is too big not to participate in this market. I know this goes against the value investor approach I have with my stocks, as cryptos don't produce any value at all, but the ultimate task is to create wealth. So I will use any vehicle I think will lead me toward my target the faster. I consider them a high-risk asset, and for this reason, I have allocated a small amount of my money there. I could lose this money and won't care too much, but I must admit that I am in the green right now. I will be adding a small amount there every month, but I firmly believe in companies that produce value, have strong balance sheets, innovate, create jobs, and are profitable. So to summarize, I put my first $200 in the following assets: $100 in VUSA, $30 in American Express, $30 in Apple, $30 in Google, $10 left as cash. The following month, I kept a similar path: $100 in VUSA, $30 in American Express, $30 in Amazon, $40 left as cash. Don't have to buy individual stocks every month. I prefer to keep the cash when there's a month that I feel there are no opportunities. So 3 months later, Apple's price might drop a bit. Then I would evaluate it and see if it is an opportunity to use some of my cash to buy it and so on. As I grew my income, I also increased my monthly allocation to investments. I grow my income without expanding my lifestyle too much, so I have more funds to invest. This way, my money grows instead of staying in a bank account. The key that led me to having $100,000 in my portfolio is consistency. No matter what, every month, I will send as much as I can afford to my brokerage account and allocate them towards my investments. Also, I reinvest all my dividends to take advantage of compounding growth, a powerful tool for building wealth over time. When I first started investing, I didn't have much money. But what I did have was consistency. Every month, I set aside an amount, no matter what, and invested in companies I understood and believed in. I also focused on educating myself about the stock market, whether reading books like The Intelligent Investor, or watching YouTube videos or taking courses. Learning the basics gave me the confidence to take that first step. One of my most important lessons is that investing doesn't have to be complicated. Here are 3 key principles that helped me grow my portfolio. 1. Start small, but start now. Even $50 or $100 a month can grow significantly, thanks to compound interest. The earlier you start, the better. 2. Diversify. Don't put all your money into one stock or sector. Spread it out across different industries, or use ETFs for instant diversification. But be careful because some people over-diversify to a level where they can't keep track of their investments. 3. Stay consistent. Markets will go up and down, but by investing regularly, what's called dollar cost averaging, you smooth out the highs and lows over time. Dollar cost averaging, DCA an abbreviation, means investing a fixed amount regularly, no matter what the market is doing. Before you start investing, make sure your financial foundation is solid. My next goal is to grow this $100,000 into $1 million as soon as possible. To do this, I'm focusing on reinvesting dividends, staying consistent with monthly contributions, and keeping a long-term perspective. I also remain consistent in my continuous learning path to acquire more skills to help me improve my income while learning many useful things. In this channel, I will be highlighting my path from 0 to 100, and from this to 1 million. How much are you currently saving or investing? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about your journey. Like the video if it inspired you or gave you clarity about starting your investment journey. It really helps with the algorithm and follows along as we explore key concepts while I create wealth.